Stop running down the meh and mundane hallways of life and tap into the magical. My name is Michelle Shutter. I am a life and leadership coach for women and host of the Life Coaching Classroom podcast. I'd like to welcome you to Life Coaching Classroom, where we walk with you in the hallways of life so you can align to the beautiful expansiveness of your true self through reconnection, reinvention, and rejuvenation. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to class. Hey, welcome back to this episode on the Life Coaching Classroom podcast. My name is Michelle Shutter, your host. I am a life and leadership coach for women and the creator of Life Coaching Classroom. If you haven't checked that out, there's lots of great resources there. You can just head on over to lifecoachingclassroom.com. But in this episode 66, we're going to talk about intentional focus. And before we do that, the vision and the mission behind Life Coaching Classroom is really to support women in reconnecting with their beautifully aligned expansiveness of their true self. So many times women become disconnected from just the heart of who we are. And it's so important to bring that connection back. So in the classroom, we focus on 6 different subject areas: heart, healing, health, humanity, harmony, and happiness. No particular order, and they all overlap. But we do that so that we can essentially reinvent ourselves, because to connect back to that true self and really live the life that we desire, it requires us to reinvent ourselves, to get rid of the old and welcome in the new. And it's by using this process that women just really are able to reconnect and reignite that fire within, regardless of what age we are. So again, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Life Coaching Classroom. So let's talk a little bit about episode 66, which is all on intentional focus. And, it doesn't matter if this is like day to day, if it is you're setting a new goal, you're going after your desires. What you have to ask yourself is, do I have intentional focus? And let's back up a little bit and just look at the word intention, right? Intention is deciding on purpose. Well, if we don't decide on purpose and we don't take action to fulfill that purpose, essentially it's just a wish. So we have to ask ourselves a variety of questions, which I'm going to go through this episode. But the first thing you want to think about is, are you deciding on purpose when it comes to what you're focusing on? Are you deciding on purpose when it comes to what you're focusing on? Because there is a huge thief when it comes to our thoughts. And I'll get into that in a second, but just know, we generate and we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of thoughts every single day. And one of the biggest thieves that we allow to get in the way of our thoughts is social media. And let me explain why that happens. Because when we want to have an intentional focus and it is essentially pulled away from scrolling our phone, here's what happens. We say things like, oh, wow, she's got that and I don't. How come I can't do that? I could never do that. I'm such a loser. I'm such a failure. They could do it. I couldn't do it. I've always been this way. Why can't I be something else? And when we loop into that, and a lot of times, we are not even consciously aware that we're doing that. But when we loop into those patterns, look where our quote unquote intentional focus goes. We are essentially deciding on purpose where our thoughts are going. And when this happens, our intentional focus is on lack, what we don't have. Now, I want to tell you, it's common. You're not alone. This happens to everybody. And there's nothing wrong with you, because our brain essentially is designed and it's wired to really look at the negative. Really, it pulls us towards that that negativity. In this case, like it's the lack of not having something. So there's nothing wrong with you. However, you get to decide if that's where you want to continue to be. Is it serving you in some way? And yes, it is serving you in some way. You just have to decide, is it serving my truest self and the essence of who I really am and what I want? Or is it serving a different part of me that is not serving me anymore? And perhaps that part of me needs to be reevaluated and shed and perhaps let go. Now, if you want change in your life in somewhere, in some way, in some area, whatever it is for you, you have to begin to shift your intentional focus. You have to be aware of where you're putting that intentional focus. Now, that awareness starts with your thoughts. Again, like we have a ton of thoughts every single day, and the majority of the time, they're a repeat of the previous day and the previous day and the previous day, which mounts to previous months, and then previous years. So we are in this pattern of not even realizing what our thoughts are. Now, keep in mind that our thoughts create our feelings, which create our actions, which create our results. If we are creating results that we don't desire, that we don't want, we need to loop back to thoughts and really get clear on what exactly are we thinking. Now, keep in mind that every single situation, there's duality, there's polarity in it, right? It offers us clarity. In that situation, so think of a stick, right? The situation is the center of the stick, and we can lean towards what we don't want, or we can lean towards what we do want. The intentional focus is really about tipping your thoughts to which way you want to go. Do you want to go to thoughts of what you don't want, or do you want to go to thoughts of what you do want? Keep in mind that when you are focusing on lack or scarcity or what you don't have, that is focusing on what you don't want. That's a negative emotion that's being created in you. Again, negative emotions are not, there's nothing good nor bad about it. It just is. But you get to decide, is it serving my highest good? A negative emotion is actually an indicator that you are leaning towards what you don't want. So ask yourself, my gosh, like how many times a day am I experiencing that negative emotion or a negative emotion around any topic area, perhaps that I want to change? That negative emotion, again, is a sign for you to perhaps it's time to do some thought work to really get that intentional focus aligned with what we do want. Now you might be asking, okay, well, this is great, right? Like, how do I fix this? Well, you fix it by using tools. And one of the best tools that I have used over the course of the years is what is called the Magic of Reinvention tool. You can get it on my website, and there's a free download there. Just go to lifecoachingclassroom.com/library and scroll down. It is this tool that really helps you identify what your current thought is, what the current feelings are around it, the actions, and the results. If you are not clear on where your current thoughts are, how do you change? You don't, right? And so hence, I repeat the same behavior, or I repeat the same thoughts, and I make the same choices, and I make the same behaviors day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month after month, year after year after year. Like, let's disrupt this pattern. Let's like shake it up and not see what sticks, select and pick intentionally what we want to stay. Because sometimes some of the thoughts, we don't want any of it to stay. Let's get rid of it all. So if our thoughts create our feelings, and if that thought is around something we don't want and lack of it, I want you to think about, like, how is that making you feel? If you don't have something in your life that you really want, how is it making you feel? And when you feel that way, do you take action on it? Most of the time, not. And so here we are seeking change, wanting to do something different, setting a new goal, wanting just something better for ourselves. And yet we're ruminating in the thoughts and the feelings and the actions that aren't serving us. So our results are nearly identical to what we are thinking. So I want you to think about, pick an area of your life. Perhaps there's a goal you're working on. Perhaps there is just something you're looking to change. And I want you to think about, what is the current thought around that? And how is it serving you? How is it serving your feelings? How is it serving your actions? How is it serving the results that you're seeking? One of the best ways then to shift that is to use that tool. You can use that tool not only to identify what isn't working, you're identifying what you don't want, but you can also use that tool to identify what you do want and to shift that intentional focus in a way that serves you and your greatest good at a higher level. Practice is going to be one of the biggest things that you can do. Practice daily. Build a muscle for thought work. You have to retrain your mind and make your intentional focus based on what you want versus what you don't want. This is challenging work. This is work, though, that is foundational. So many times we jump into something new or jump into a new goal or looking to do something different, but yet we don't have this foundational piece in place. So what happens? We fail. We think we're a loser. We don't, we give up early. We throw in the towel. And again, that is just all aligned with our thoughts, because we haven't up-leveled our thoughts. We haven't created this intentional focus. So what are you going to do differently after listening to this? How are you going to make a shift that serves your highest good and bring your focus to something that is on what you want, and it's intentional and it is serving you? I would love to hear what you're taking away, actually. So if you want to message me or email me at hello@lifecoachingclassroom.com, I would love to connect with you and hear what's landing for you. So let's just do a quick recap here. Intentional focus. Keep in mind that intention is deciding on purpose. And if you are not deciding on purpose with your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, it's actually just a wish. It isn't going to go anyplace. So you have to identify, where are you tipping your thoughts? Remember, you have that situation. Are you tipping your thoughts more towards what you don't want or what you do want? The second thing is, just know that you can change at any time. And actually, it is your job to do that. Don't rely on somebody else to identify the thought or make you think differently. They don't have that power. Don't rely on somebody else to make you feel differently. They don't have that power. Can it influence you? Yes. But ultimately, it is your choice. You get to decide your thoughts and how you feel. Third thing is, use a tool to support your change and commit to using it daily. Again, I shared the magic of reinvention tool because we have to reinvent ourselves to do something different. We cannot be the same person wanting something up-leveled, right? That is a mismatch. We have to become that person. And that tool, you can have there's a free download at lifecoachingclassroom.com/library. And the last thing I want to share with you is, intentional focus is all about honoring you, to really get your thoughts and your feelings and your actions aligned with your true self, of really who you are and what you're supposed to do here, and the gifts and the beauty that you bring, it is all about honoring you. It is foundational to your growth. Again, we give up way too early, way too soon, because we haven't put this foundational work into place first before leaping in. Right? And if we don't have anything that we're seeking or working towards, we have to question ourselves in terms of, what kind of meaning then do I have in this life? What is bringing me fulfillment? If I'm just running the hamster wheel of life over and over again, when do I get off? Or is that just so common, so familiar to me to burn my candle at both ends? I don't know. I don't truly believe that that's the purpose for you. The purpose is for you to honor yourself, to really look at where you are intentionally putting this focus. If that piece, as I mentioned, is not in place, it's hard. It's a struggle. It's challenging. But again, that's all bringing up negative emotion for a cue for you to change. So if you're looking to honor yourself and looking to really bring this foundational piece of intentional focus to light and really do some great work around this, I want to extend an invitation to you to attend January's unit study class, which is called Honoring You. We are going to dive into this deeper. We are going to explore intentional focus in a not necessarily a new way, because some of the information I gave you in this podcast is going to be just that foundation that we need. However, there's so much more that's connected to intentional focus that we will be going through in the class Honoring You. If that is something you want to register for, no charge, you can go to lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit and you can get registered there. Keep in mind that I will have a recording available. To get the recording, you have to register as well. It is next Wednesday. Let me tell you, back up here. The day I'm recording this, it's next Wednesday, the 25th. However, the day that this podcast is probably published, it'll be just like in a couple days. So make sure you head on over to lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit to register for our upcoming unit study class called Honoring You. Again, I would love for you to share with me what you're taking away from this episode. I would love for you to share this episode with another woman that perhaps needs some support around that intentional focus. Like this work, doing this work collectively, collaboratively, makes it so much more powerful for us. So with that, I can't wait to see you in class. Make sure you register, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Take care. Have you joined our monthly unit study? If not, you better head on over and reserve your seat at lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit. The unit study gives you an opportunity to experience life coaching at no charge. Again, register and get all the details at lifecoachingclassroom.com/unit. I do have a favor. Could you take a moment to share this podcast and Life Coaching Classroom with your besties? Perhaps they too are tired of running down the meh and mundane hallways of life. Let's give them a little spark in their day. Finally, I'd be so grateful if you take a minute to review the podcast. The reviews definitely help to spread the podcast to more women. Thank you. I so appreciate you, and I will see you in class.